All right, we are live. Welcome to Timeless Mysteries Live Edition. We've got TJ Ward here today. I'm just going to give it a couple minutes, see if some other people show up. But we've got a good discussion to talk about today. Hey, Molly, how are you today?
I'm good.
Can you see the chat? We've got one person in the chat so far.
Yeah, I can see it.
Well, all right. Well, I guess we could just go ahead and get started and people could watch the replay. TJ, why don't you introduce yourself and, let us know, like kind of give us a background of how you got into this line of work.
Well, I was a paramedic back after I got out of the Marine Corps, and I'm trying to date, it was back in early, hold on one second. Okay. I was went in the United States Marine Corps when I turned 17 years old, and that was in 1970. And I was in the Marine Corps until 1972. I got out, went to EMT school and to cardiac tech school. And shortly after that, I was on an ambulance with people and picking up people and doing paramedic work. Shortly after that, I was a firefighter for 2 years. And then I got in law enforcement in 1973. And I stayed in law enforcement until 2019 after I retired for 47 years. 1982, in conjunction with me being in law enforcement, I opened a private investigator firm. And since then, I've worked some very high-profile cases, including the disappearance of Natalee Holloway, which I got hired on in 2005.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about this case. And I kind of, I know a lot of people are familiar with this case, but, some aren't. So I kind of want to go through like what happened, how you got hired, the first days, kind of, how it played out in the beginning. I know it took a long time for you to actually get the guy to admit what he'd done. I know we can't like talk about everything in an hour or so. So we'll just kind of try to focus on the beginning.
Well, shortly after Natalee Holloway went missing on May 30th in 2005, I started monitoring TV with all the Nightline shows. I mean, Natalee Holloway's show stayed on the air for almost 2 years. After Beth had learned her daughter went missing, she immediately took off and went to Aruba. And shortly after that, Dave Holloway went to Aruba. But I started monitoring Deepak Satish and Vandersloot's conversations with all the Nightline shows that were covering her disappearance. And I will tell you, every media outlet in the country was in Aruba. I mean, it was like a soap opera. And they were there for a very long time. But while I was watching, I have a system called layered voice analysis. It's a 21st century truth technology, was developed in Israel by a firm. And I'm the only private investigator in the country licensed to use the software. And I have a contract with them to sell and service the software for law enforcement and corporate security across the country. But anyway, I started monitoring their conversations, and I could see that they weren't telling the truth. So I picked up the phone and I called Aruba. I called the Holiday Inn, and I got Beth Holloway and Jug Twitty, who she was married to at the time. I talking to them and telling them what I saw and what I was doing. The voice analysis is 95% accurate. So I can tell you what they were saying was not true. And what they were talking about was not exactly what transpired with the disappearance of Natalee Holloway. So after that conversation, the company in Israel saw the media that I was on and knew that I had talked to Beth Holloway and Jug Twitty. Jug Twitty got on a couple of the TV shows and started talking about me and the software that I had. And the company in Israel sent me to Aruba for 2 weeks, and I met with the Aruban authorities and the FBI when I got there. The interesting part that the Aruban authorities don't even allow the polygraph in Aruba. But unbeknown to them, I don't need somebody in front of me to be able to analyze them. I can do it by telephone. I can do it by recording, or I can do it live, like I did off the TV, and I can see whether they're not telling the truth and whether they're having problems. So after I got there to Aruba, I spent about 10 days there with the FBI and the local authorities. They said they don't allow the polygraph there, but I didn't share with them that I could use it without them even knowing it, which I did, carried on. I came back and told Beth and Judge Twitty about that, and I said, we just need to do an old good and professional investigation. And about an hour later, they called me back and hired me. After they hired me, I started going back and forth to Aruba. Every 10 days, I would go there and spend 4 or 5 days there and conduct some investigation. And the first thing that I started looking at, of course, was Vandersloot, and I started looking at Deepak Satish. And very interesting enough, Vandersloot's father, who was a judge in training, started to be a big target for me, because he made a comment publicly and to the family that no body, no case. So I knew, and he had shared that information with his son for the purpose of, if they couldn't find a body, they weren't going to have any charges against him. But this went on for a very long time. I was back and forth interviewing people, there's places that came up that they went to, the lighthouse, the California lighthouse. I went to those places. I started interviewing witnesses. Ironically, about after the 5th time I was there and on TV, every night I was on a TV show when I was in Aruba. The media would call me. I'd go from hotel to hotel every night and talk about what I've learned and what I found and so on and so forth. But interesting enough, they started getting concerned about me going and talking to the people that had some clues about Natalee Holloway going missing. And one of the reporters from the Aruba Day newspaper would interview on Greta Van Sesteren, and got on Greta one night and said there was a warrant issued for my arrest for not having a work permit in Aruba. And they were going to bring me in and question me about it. Said I was acting like a law enforcement officer, going door to door, interviewing people. And Greta said, well, that's what he was hired to do. And you're telling me that you're going to try to take the investigator for the Holloway family into custody? Well, shortly after that, after him telling me that and going publicly like that, he said I was trying to act like a law enforcement officer, going door to door, interviewing people and sharing and pulling information together with the family. I learned the next day the chief of police at the time called me and apologized to me and said there was never a warrant for my arrest. I knew there wasn't. I mean, they knew where I was staying and everything else. That night I was walking past law enforcement officers going to dinner, and I was not bothered at all. So I knew that the story was kind of made up. So we moved on from there. Shortly after that, I started looking into Paulus Vandersloot. And of course, as you may know from some of the information, that Vandersloot's telling one story and then changed the story. He lied probably 10 or 15 times in the course of this case. But they were, Deepak Satish and Vandersloot were arrested numerous times in the course of this case going on, which lasted all the way in, what's an important date was in 2010, when Vandersloot's father died. And shortly after that, Vandersloot's money was running out. So he got an idea to call Beth Holloway's attorney in New York, John Q. Kelly, and called John Q. Kelly for the purpose of wanting to tell them where Natalee was for the exchange of $250,000. Well, we contacted the FBI and we also the Aruba authorities, and we got permission from the Aruba authorities to set up a sting operation, which they did at the Marriott. They wired one whole room with cameras. The FBI was involved also. John Q. Kelly came down and paid Vandersloot live on camera. I believe it was I think it was in near February or somewhere between that and June, and gave Vandersloot $25,000. Well, shortly after that, the FBI should have arrested him right then and there for extorting Natalee's mother, which didn't transpire. The FBI said, let's keep an eye on him and see what he does. And he got away from the FBI in Aruba and ended up, as you're well aware, went to Peru and met Stephanie Flores in the casino. And shortly thereafter took Stephanie Flores back to his hotel room. And while he was in a shower, she got on his computer and started seeing all the information about his involvement with the disappearance of Natalee Holloway in Aruba. Well, she questioned him when he got out of the shower with it. He got very angry and ended up breaking his neck and killing her and fled from there. A taxi cab driver ID'd him, called law enforcement, and he was shortly taken into custody, which he pled guilty with killing Stephanie Flores in Peru, and he was sentenced to 28 years in the Peruvian prison, where he's still confined at the present time.
Yeah, TJ, that's a great like overview, but I kind of want to, get back to like the initial investigation and kind of work through the, the who's who and what businesses and hotels were like, in the story, and kind of give like a better, better overall overview, I guess.
Right.
So I've got this PowerPoint that I made. And I guess we need to talk about Natalee Holloway, who she was, and what she was doing in Aruba, and all of that. So this happened in May of 2005. She was on a senior trip. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes, with 121 different students, and I believe there was 11 adults there with them that went with them. And after they got there, of course, they started partying. And what the good thing for them was that they knew there wasn't going to be any real supervision about them drinking alcohol and going partying and so on and so forth, which they did. And swapping rooms and doing what they did and spending money. I mean, and then besides going to the beach, and then she had gone to Carlos and Charlie's and to the Holiday Inn, where the casino is where she met up with Joran van der Sloot. After meeting Joran van der Sloot, they went drinking at Carlos and Charlie's, which we believe that they had something set up with the bartenders to be able to put something in a drink. And we think that's one thing that transpired before they left the night before she was supposed to go home, when they were in Carlos and Charlie's, and ended up her two friends that were with her, good friends, saw her in the car with Deepak, Satish, and van der Sloot leaving. And they thought that they were just taking her back to the hotel, which didn't transpire, to the Holiday Inn.
So this is Carlos and Charlie's. It's not showing up. Hold on.
It's
thought
not
I just
there anymore either. It's closed, been closed down since then.
Yeah, let me. Oh, that's. Okay, one sec. I just pulled it up. I thought I had set it up so I can just click a link and it would pop up on the share screen, but it puts it in a new window, which kind of changes everything. So just give me a sec. I can fix that. Let me just remove that and just share my screen. Okay, so this should be, whoop. Okay. I hope you guys can see
that. That's Carlos and Charlie's. It's not there anymore. They've shut it down. And it got shut down shortly after this incident happened with Natalee Holloway.
And, this was in Aruba. They stayed at the Holiday Inn Resort.
They stayed at the Holiday Inn, which was in Palm Beach in Aruba. And matter of fact, after Beth got there, that's where she stayed also. And so just to keep, Beth was on the island for almost 2 years looking for her daughter. And So, I mean, this is a sad situation that happened, but I guess to say the end result when we get to it is probably better than we expected.
So I'm just pulling up some pictures of that resort. Obviously, this is 2025, but it was still probably looked very similar. It's a
Yes,
very
it still is.
beautiful place.
I was in Aruba, I want to say 5 years ago, but nothing had really changed about what was there in 2005.
So there was some other places that also came up, I guess, like the Palm Beach Marriott and the California. You mentioned the California Lighthouse.
Yes,
What is that? I mean, is it just this
it's a
lighthouse?
resort. It's a resort on the west side of the island, and all it is a lighthouse and a place to look at, and it's right near the ocean. And
I think I got some pictures up here. Nope, this is a blog. But
And one of the other big things that became a big issue while we were searching for Natalee was the landfill. We went through the landfill. I mean, it was not good. I mean, Tim Miller with EquiSearch was there and had numerous people there. We had dogs. And I mean, you have to understand the weather in Aruba is hot. And going through the landfill, we're going back and looking for documentation and papers from May 30th. So, I mean, it was already into several months we were there. And shortly after we started searching the landfill, so it was not a good project. I mean, it was bad. Then there was the pond across the street from the Marriott, and then we had to.
So the pond, I had read about the pond. That's also another hotel, right?
Yeah, well, no, there's a pond across the street from the Marriott, and the problem there was some suspicion. There was a condominium complex right behind the pond, and there was a lot of controversy about the pond that she may have been put in the pond and drowned or dumped in there. But the problem was while at least the 2 years that I know we were searching for her, there were 2 hurricanes that came through Aruba. So the fire department drained the pond one time, got all the way down. Then their equipment, something happened to their equipment. They couldn't completely drain it. Then the following day, a hurricane came through and filled it back up again. So we lost interest about having to trying to drain the pond and find out what's there. I mean, we went through it, all the searchers with EquiSearch and went in there, but we didn't find anything that was related to Natalee.
Yeah, so I did find some information about some of these places. The pond was across from the Marriott, and it was a drainage pond.
Yes.
So it's not something
directly across from the Marriott. It was directly across the street from the main road that went down to get to the Marriott.
So I believe there was some tip that was given that they'd saw men there, and that's how they ended up.
Yes, I mean there was witnesses, and we researched a lot of these witnesses that claim they were involved. And again, I use my voice analysis on some of them. And one of the good things about the voice analysis, I can do an exam in any language. So, and they speak another language there. So I was able to pick up. In fact, it was a funny story. When I got there, I hired somebody that I trusted there and paid them to go with me to all these places so they could show me where it was. And ironically, one afternoon we stopped at the Burger King. And we're standing in line, and she said, "You hear those people behind us?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "They're talking about you in another language." So it was good to have somebody else with me that understands the language and the people and the area. Aruba's only 76 square miles big, but you have the ocean, and then you go inbound from the ocean. You got the desert. There's desert in Aruba.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we were fighting 2 different battles and having to deal with maybe she's in the water or maybe she was buried or put somewhere in the desert also. So it was kind of complicated to do and search like we did. I mean, we had to break down different every day doing something different. and going different places. So it was not an easy task to do this. But luckily, with Tim Miller at EquiSearch there, we had some of the resources and people to be able to do what we were trying to accomplish and get done. And then again, every night at 6 o'clock, I had the media calling me, and everything that I did on those days, I went from network to network to network to talk about what we did on that particular day. It was like a soap opera. I mean, it went on for a very long time, almost 2 years, and the media stayed there. And so this is something that usually doesn't happen in somebody going missing in a search like this, to have this much caliber of media there. I mean, every media outlet was there. I can tell you that I got over 800 videos of while I was in Aruba, and on different TV shows.
So let's go back to the first day when she doesn't make it to the airport. How soon after that did you arrive, and what did the police say initially whenever she didn't report for her flight?
Well,
specifically,
ironically, one of the things that stands out, Dave Holloway got there, and Dave went to the police station, and you know what the police told him? Oh, don't worry, it's she's probably missing somewhere, or partying, or doing something. Don't worry about it. She'll be all right. We'll locate her. And I mean, this
offered him a beer, right?
Yeah, this is the father of Natalee Holloway that they're telling, don't worry about your daughter. She's just probably out partying or something, having a good deal. And this was the day after she missed the flight. And the family went there immediately. I didn't go there until it was almost 3 weeks before I got there, because that's when I started learning and watching the news and started doing the voice analysis on every night that were on TV to see that they were lying. So shortly after, it was about the latter part of June, when I ended up calling Beth Holloway and Jug Twitty and telling what I've been watching and what I knew, that things were not right. And that's when I got sent there by the company that's developed the voice analysis. And then I went there. I spent 10 days there with the Aruban authorities and the FBI.
Yeah. Molly says, that would piss them off if they were offered a beer. But I mean, if you think about it from their perspective as a police officer in a party place, like how often does this happen where they just disappear for a couple of days and miss a plane flight?
Well,
versus
you have to understand
something tragic happened.
She was with friends, and she ran around with there. That she had about 4 friends, and they when she went missing, they were real concerned. They knew she wasn't out partying, and something was wrong. And when Beth got there, she went to her hotel room, and all her personal things were there. I think her phone was there, and all her clothes, and there was nothing packed. There was nothing for her ready to go home. So they knew something wasn't right, and she had gone missing. And it wasn't she was out partying, because they could tell that she hadn't been there in a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I read that her stuff actually was packed, but her passport and everything was still there in the room.
It was.
Were you able to actually see the room before they took everything out?
I didn't get anywhere near that. In fact, I think that's I know Beth stayed in that hotel. I didn't really get anywhere near the Holiday Inn, other than doing an investigation and with looking at the videos and speaking to people there, security, and so on and so forth. And of course, Vandersloot claimed one of his first things after he was interviewed that he dropped Natalee off at the Holiday Inn, and that's what they did. There was no evidence whatsoever at the Holiday Inn in regards to him dropping her off. There was nothing. So we knew he wasn't telling the truth.
Right. And he was seen with those 2 brothers that you'd mentioned.
Yes, Peacock and Saki.
Natalee that night from a club, the Carlos and what was it?
Carlos and Charlie's.
Carlos and Charlie's. And so immediately, as an investigator, that's where you start, right? The last person to see them alive.
Exactly.
Or see them, at all.
They wouldn't talk to me. They wouldn't have anything to do with me. Paulus Vandersloot either. But I started focusing on Paulus Vandersloot too after learning what he said to his son about no body, no case. So I started looking into him. And of course, he was arrested, I think, 3 times in the course of Deepak Satish and Vandersloot being arrested in the course of what was going on while we were in Aruba.
Yeah, that's that thing that you keep saying, you know, no body, no charges. Like that always gives me chills every time I hear it. And I've read it so many times just looking up stuff
Yep.
like that. And it
Yep.
just seems wrong. I do want to kind of compare and contrast like how things work in Aruba versus in the US, because I mean, obviously that's how we know how things work. We live here. But I think before we get into that, I just wanted to
one of the big things that's different there than here, you can't take somebody into custody in the U.S. without probable cause. Okay, you can't take somebody. You have to have probable cause to take them into custody. In Aruba,
right.
if you're suspected of something, they can take and hold you up to 14 days before they have to release you. Even though they haven't charged you anything, they have a right to hold you for 14 days. That's different in the U.S. Before them to take you into custody, you have to be charged with a crime. So
In the U.S., they can hold you for 48 hours, right, or 24 hours.
No, you can be taken into custody and questioned, but you can't be held. You can't be held in the U.S. unless you're being charged for something.
I get like, I mean, my experience with that is from movies, and they always like, oh, we can hold you for blah blah blah. You know,
no,
but
unless you're being charged, they can't hold you.
Has to be valid. You know, a judge has to sign off on it being good enough to hold them once you get arraigned in court.
And they would take them before a judge. They would take them before a judge. They have a 3-panel judge in Aruba, where we only have one. They have a 3-panel judge in Aruba, and they took them there and they put their evidence up of what they suspected, and then they hold them for up to 14 days before they're.
There's no jury in in Aruba. They don't have a jury. It's only a judge, right?
Right. They don't have juries. They don't have juries in Aruba. And ironically, the whole time, every time that they were taken into court, even when they were held, the public was not allowed in the courtroom. We couldn't go in the courtroom. So we had to wait for them to come out for their determination, whatever happened.
Okay. So, you know, at the very beginning on May 30th, Natalee, who was 18, was last seen around 1:30 in the morning at Carlos and Charlie's with Joran Vandersloot and the brothers Deepak and Satish. She didn't show up for her flight in the morning. Her passport and luggage were found in her hotel room. And as you said, the Aruban authorities told Dave, her father, that, you know, just give it some time. She's probably just out partying. It wasn't until like a few weeks later before they started like bringing in people. And I think they tried to on June 5th through the 13th, they had a security guard in custody or detained. Let's see, his name was Antonio Mickey John.
Mickey John, yes.
Abraham Jones. I might have a photo of them, but
they were released shortly after.
Yeah, why were they even brought in? Do you know? Like,
because they didn't believe that they were telling the truth, and again, they have a right to hold you if they suspect you in Aruba. And see, one of the other things and problems in Aruba was tourism. They were getting real concerned about tourism. They had to hire somebody from the United States to come in and deal with the tourism, because when all the media started showing up in Aruba, it started causing a real amount of problems, a lot of problems. And
so here's a photo
these security guards that were held. Let me tell you what transpired with that. There was a hotel that was being built next to the Holiday Inn, and these security guards that were taken in custody were suspected and brought up with Vandersloot and Deepak and Satish talking about the guards next door. So they took the guards into custody and held them also until they went before a judge and they were cleared that they had nothing to do with the disappearance of Natalee Holloway.
Yeah. I do have like a list of the pre-detention charges and the way the system works there. It doesn't seem like, to me, everything I know about law has been, ingrained in my head since a child, so all of what I know seems normal. So whenever I read about the way things work in Aruba, it seems kind of
Completely
unnatural.
different. It's different. It's completely different than it is here. I was a police officer 47 years here. I can tell you about the law. My last 11 years was in internal affairs. I policed the police. So I had to know the laws like the back of my hand when police officers get in trouble. And the laws in
go ahead.
The laws in Aruba are completely different. I mean, completely than they are here.
One thing that stood out to me was the fact that in the U.S., if you lie to authorities in an interview and they find out, they can charge you with falsifying information. Yep. In Aruba, it's not a crime. They can lie, and it isn't used against them.
That's correct.
And I just can't.
If you know how many times Vandersloot lied quite a bit. He changed his story numerous times, so we knew what he was telling was not credible at all. The closest thing, and I'll jump ahead a little bit, the closest thing of him being truthful about what transpired when they set him up in that vehicle and he got in the vehicle. And the reason they didn't charge him with that, when you know what I'm talking about? When they set him up. Yep. Mm-hmm. The reason why they didn't charge him is because they were under the influence of marijuana. They were smoking dope.
Are you kidding me?
No, that's why they didn't.
So they thought because they were under the influence of marijuana that they made bad judgment.
They didn't charge them. Yep.
They. I mean, how does that even come out in a logical way that using drugs saves you from a crime?
Well, let me tell you, the guy that set him up and wired that whole vehicle paid $50,000 to set Vandersloot up to catch him in a lie. And then when they learned that they were both smoking dope and talking, the recording, there's a recording of that whole conversation in the car. And he's speaking in their language, but they converted it to English. And he clearly told the guy that he was with that set him up what happened to Natalee on the beach. He told him, and they didn't use it. Yeah, I mean, you have to understand law enforcement in these other countries, and I'm having to deal with that now with the girl that's missing, Satisha, that we've done an investigation on.
Yeah,
that there's people paid off that about the truth coming out. So not to jump ahead. But I can tell you there are things that are not right in these other countries.
Speaking of Satisha, have you actually been investigating that?
I think I have an office in Dominican Republic now, and what has been said by law enforcement, that law enforcement has closed the case on Satisha, and but I can tell you she didn't drown. Let's leave it at that right now. She did not drown.
The thing is, you remember the last time when we talked about that case, I had a lot of people like leave me comments saying that, that's not what actually happened. It's like they're covering it up. And I was like, it didn't sound.
Well, let me tell you this.
It kind of sounded like just conspiracy theories to me. But I mean, it made sense after like the 20th or 30th person said something like it.
Let me tell you this. Keep your eyes open on Fox this week, because I'm going to tell you what transpired.
Oh, wow. I just got chills. I want to know right now. I know we're talking about
what transpired.
That case really, like,
law enforcement there has closed the case. They've closed the case is not even open anymore. And if you remember, the family wanted the law enforcement to issue them a death certificate for her because it was all based on her being in the water and drowning. And that's not the case. And every time I was on TV, I blinked 13 times with Sadisha's case, and I clearly brought out that she's not in the water. And they go, why do you think she's not in the water? If she was in the water, something would have washed up. We would have found something. Even if she got eaten by sharks or somebody, something would have came up and gave them some clues that she died in the water. And that's not what transpired.
That case just was like heartbreaking for me, because whenever I saw the mother and the father like crying, and like she was just a good person, and if you look at her history, everything about her, I mean, it's a lot like this case we're talking about today. She was a good person with a good, bright, future ahead of her, everything to look forward to, and then something bad transpires. One tiny
family knows who I am. The detectives in Virginia have gone to them on numerous times and said, look, you need to get a lawyer or a private investigator to go find out what happened. And the father said, you mean TJ Ward? He said, yes, send him to Aruba. And I've had numerous families call me in Virginia that want to raise money for me to go there. But my question and my answer to them is, when the family gives me their blessing to go to Aruba, I will go, then you can raise the money. I don't want to go there and think I'm just going there just to make money. That's not why I'm there. I want to go there to try to find out what happened to their daughter. And we have conducted an investigation and gathered information in conjunction with the authorities in Virginia. And I can tell you she's not in the water.
Okay. So I don't want to like get too far off track, but I really would love to talk about Sadisha.
Well, we can talk. We can do another show with you
about
that again after.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's a lot of unanswered questions that I can probably bring to the table going forward.
So going back to Natalee Holloway's case, when did they first pull in Vandersloot? When did he first get pulled in for questioning? And I think I'd said something like, well, he was in prison, but he was actually just in custody at first for like 86 days. What was that place that he was confined in like? Was it like a jail, or was it just like a room with a lock on the door?
No, they put him in the they where they hold their when they take people in custody, they put you in the prison. They put you in the prison. And let me tell you something ironic. One of the first things that's happened was the vehicle that she was last seen in, that I think Deepak owns the vehicle. The following day after this happened, after law enforcement found out she was last seen in that car, they were scrubbing that car out at his house. I got witnesses that told me about this. They were scrubbing that car out like they were going to sell it and cleaning it. There was evidence in that car from Natalee being in that car. And the FBI should have taken that car into custody immediately, and it wasn't. That's the first thing you do. When somebody is suspected of going missing in a vehicle, law enforcement's job, and I will tell you here, that's what happens. They will take that vehicle into custody immediately. Look, when there's a crime scene, what's the first thing they do if there's vehicles involved? They start taking vehicles into custody and take them to the crime lab. That didn't happen in this case. That would have answered a lot of questions about Natalee being in the car and something going wrong, because there was blood in the car.
Oh man! So the way the law works there on that island in this area, I mean, are they trained like officers are here? Is their detective work like the same? They still have the same, like they just don't. And
they're not anywhere near trained. I have 3 cases right outside the country right now. Anguilla, which is right near St. Martin. I got a girl that got her throat cut in Jamaica, and Natalee Holloway's case, and now the case that with Sadisha. Law enforcement is nowhere near anywhere comparison to what it is here. Okay.
None. So when we're thinking about this case and all the mistakes that were made, can we really fault them for not being trained properly? Or was it more of they didn't care kind of a scenario?
Well, let me tell you, there's already been three. They're on their third chief of police since this happened. There's problems in Aruba and two of them got terminated because of this case with Natalee Holloway.
I think I might have a photo of maybe the prosecutor. I don't know if I have the police chief. Oops, wrong slide. Where was it? There we go. So this is Paulus.
Yep.
And that's Joran's father. This is his mother, Anita. Yep. I'm not real sure why he was detained, but here we go.
Prosecutor.
So she was the prosecutor. Was she helpful? I mean, was she actually trying to?
She's under investigation and scrutiny right now for what happened with Natalee.
This was the police chief, right?
That's Don Pig, Gerald Don Pig. He's the police chief it was in when they claimed that they had an arrest warrant for me. He's the one that sent me a letter to apologize to me that there was no arrest warrant.
Speaking of that, who said it again, and why do you think they would have told you that? They trying to just scare you off the case or something?
They were getting too nervous with me finding out information. They wanted to get rid of me. So it was on national TV that they had a warrant for my arrest.
Oh, wow.
On Greta Van Susteren, it was on national TV. The Aruba Today newspaper was on Greta Van Susteren and said they were issuing a warrant for my arrest to bring me into custody, wanting to know why I was going around acting like a police detective, knocking on doors and asking questions. And Greta said, "Isn't that what he's hired to do?" There's a whole video. You can look at the video. You can go on YouTube or go on my website. You'll see the video. There's a video of Greta Van Susteren and the gentleman from the Aruba Day newspaper. It's live. You can see they're talking about issuing an arrest warrant for me. And the next day, the chief of police called me and sent me a letter of apology. I guess I should have probably sued the Aruba Day newspaper.
Oh yeah. So I mean, at the time when you're investigating, how much how cooperative were the other the other police and stuff? I mean,
they didn't deal with us too much. I really wasn't looking to target the police as much as I was trying to find witnesses that had answers about if they saw Natalee or knew something about Natalee. The police had already conducted their investigation and they were still doing that, trying to get answers out of Deepak Satish and Vandersloot. But we were working in conjunction of what they were doing. And but I was trying to find new witnesses that had new answers. I mean, they already knew about those three and them in and out of jail as much as they did. When they learned something new, they take them into custody again. I think Vandersloot got locked up, 3 or 4 times?
Yeah, he did. But I think I don't know. I think it's just like their law system just allows them to, get away with things like this. It's just still mind blowing to me the way
there's
that
people were paid off. There's money, and I'm telling you, that's what's going on.
How wealthy was his family?
The what?
How wealthy was his family?
Oh, his family had money. They were well known. But his mother is kind of disowned him now because they know that Vandersloot stole from his family, stole money from the family, and she knows it.
Let's see. Let me get back to the timeline here. So Paulus Vandersloot, this is in June, got arrested also.
Yes.
Why was he arrested?
Not telling the truth. And covering for his son.
And this was when he said no body, no case.
Yep. He was covering for his son, and there were things coming up. I mean, he was a big target I was looking at. There was things going on with him dealing with his son and telling his son things. So he was in the picture. And the problem is He was a judge in training with the court system.
Did he make as a full judge?
No, he was in training. He was a judge in training. And
judges in the U.S. have to be appointed by the governor. I
yeah,
believe.
they have judges in training there for whatever reason. I mean, I told you they have 3 panel judges when you go to court. There's 3 judges, and it's not like here. You got 1 judge and a jury, but a little bit different.
So I did find out there was quite a bit of like searching that was done for Natalee. Do you think that was like if somebody was paid off somewhere, were they intentionally?
There was a lot of search done. The Air Force flew over everywhere over the ocean. You had their Coast Guard. You had the United States government there trying to find out. The FBI was there. I mean, everybody was looking, and we weren't getting the right answers. And
did you feel like you were actually trying to find her though, or was it part of the show that, hey, we're looking, but you know what I mean? Like,
we knew
if
somebody,
there was a cover up,
it was covered up. And of course, what the end results were. And he came out and told halfway the real story. But yeah, there was a lot of and again, they had to bring somebody in from the United States to handle their tourism, because I mean, that place was covered up with people looking for Natalee Holloway. I mean, that's the main thing what's going on when she went missing. I mean, there wasn't a lot of vacation and stuff going on. There was a lot of people there looking for Natalee Holloway. There were teams every morning set up, going out different places, part of the island, in the desert, in the beach area, every single day. This went on for almost 2 years. 2 years.
So during that process, was there anyone that was especially helpful or, not helpful?
No new answers were coming up. I mean, it would lead to somebody else or something, or somebody knew something. That was the whole thing, going in and just trying to find people that had answers that may have seen her. Then they'd find, stuff come up out of the ocean that may be Natalee's, and they'd have to go off and then test it and see if it is Natalee's. And then they'd come back and say, no, it's not got anything to do with Natalee. It's monkey bones or this. I mean, there was bones found everywhere, and right. They'd test them, and then that would be a big story, and other things would be found. There was a belt found. They thought it was Natalee's. They went and tested it. It wasn't Natalee's. I mean,
they found some hair too, right?
Yes, there was blonde hair found. That was tested. It came back. It wasn't Natalee's. So there was. I mean, as far as with the United States being involved, there was a lot of things followed up and done with, but there was nothing leading us to any positive results of what we found. Nothing.
Well, I think it actually, everything was pointing to the guy that did it, and it just couldn't be proven by the way.
No, we couldn't. I mean, he couldn't tell the truth. And then, of course, the F-16 fighters going out and searching the ocean. But again, now we know everybody. He's still at the end, when he's confessed now, says he put her in the water. Well, that's not true. He didn't put her in the water. She would have washed back up if he said he put her in the water while he was on the beach. She would have washed back up if she was in the water. There's no way that she was in the water. Not anywhere near there. But anyway, but he lied about that even when he confessed about what he did.
So how far away are the other islands in this area that, he could get on a boat and just like go to some?
Venezuela's 15 minutes away. 15 miles away.
By boat.
Venezuela.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, he could take the body anywhere, really. There's probably other places also nearby.
Let me tell you this, that we know. Let me tell you what I know today, real quickly, that'll relate to this. There's more people involved in the disappearance of Natalee Holloway than just Vandersloot. We know that. Okay, there's more people. And we know somewhat that she was taken off the island. We know that, and we're still looking into it. And but anyway, this was a very in-depth investigation. I mean, and for a long time, and it's still on board. Natalie's father and I are still looking at things that aren't right. And of course, he pled, was it 2 years ago when he was extradited from Peru to Birmingham? He told a story to the FBI, taking a polygraph. But again, he claims in the polygraph that he put her in the water after he had hit her in the face with a brick. Mm-hmm. And that's not true. That's not true.
But Molly asked if you thought maybe she had been trafficked. Was that even something that you guys were considering at the time?
Well, one of the things that came up that I learned that there were several other people that wanted to traffic Natalee, and Vandersloot was against it. Vandersloot was involved in trafficking in Vietnam. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, he used to traffic girls and hookers in Vietnam, and for a while.
So he had I've seen a lot of things that he might have been involved in as I'm looking through this stuff, trying to find stuff to talk about, and it's kind of hard to sort out what is real and what's not, because a lot of it is just kind of allegations. Is there any real proof of stuff like that happening? I mean, it sounds like he was part of an organized crime kind of
we know he's killed 2 people, so we know for a fact now. And so I mean, it's sad. It really is. It's I think it's probably hurt Aruba with young people going there, and I don't believe they're going to let any more class trips go there. To my understanding, this was too much on them.
So I'm just trying to find this slide I have on the other girl he killed. This is her.
Yep.
She was from Peru, 21. Let's see. Hold on. Stephanie Flores Ramirez. She was 21. She was murdered by Yoren in, is that Lima? Is that how you pronounce it? Lima?
He met her. Yoren met her in a casino in Peru, and of course he took that money that he got from Beth to go to gamble with, and that's why he had a problem with money, with gambling. Just to go back real quick, he was gambling in the Holiday Inn where he met Natalee Holloway? He was 18 years old. You have to be 21 years old to gamble in Aruba. He was 18. They allowed him in Aruba to gamble in a casino. His dad and his family were very well tied to the owners of the Holiday Inn. He spent $50,000 in the casino at 18 years old, gambling.
Dang.
So, I mean, he didn't have a problem going to Peru and have $25,000 in his pocket and going when he met Stephanie Flores, and he took her back to his hotel room. And that's when that transpired when he killed her. And I'm real surprised. I am real surprised right now. He's been in jail now since 2010, and that somebody hasn't killed him. That was Stephanie. Stephanie Flores was her father. That was his only daughter, and her father was a race car driver in Peru. So I'm surprised that he didn't have Vandersloot killed. I mean, really, that was his only daughter.
Prison that he's in. What is the prison conditions like there?
Not good. He spent time. They have a prison in the mountains, and there's no heat in the mountains in prison. He went up there for a while, and it was not good, and not good. Beth went to the Peruvian prison. She got in and met him while he was in prison. I don't know how she got away with it, but she did.
That
And she talked to him and said, "I just want you to tell you the truth about what you did to my daughter." He wouldn't give anything up. He again was telling his stories, and he was interviewed several times when he was in prison by the media, and his stories changed every time. The story we told Beth was different than what he told the media, so we knew he wasn't telling the truth. But I think it came down to the wire. Greta Van Susteren and Beth convinced the Peruvian authorities, which they allowed Vandersloot to be extradited to the U.S. 2 years ago, which he confessed with the FBI that what he did to Natalee and how he killed her. And
but the how he did it may not be the actual truth.
Well, he claims he picked up when he tried to make passes at her and wanted to have sex with her, and she was fighting him off. And he claims there was a cinder brick laying there, and he picked it up and smashed her in the face with it and killed her. And then whatever happened to the body is still unknown. We
So
think
that
she was
part of
taken.
the
Well, we
story-
think she was taken off the island, and we haven't proved it yet, but we got some ideas. That's
You
going
think
on
that
right
the first half of the story, though, is accurate of what actually happened?
now. Well, he took the polygraph, and apparently he passed the polygraph to telling the FBI that. And but he also said that he put her in the water, which was not true, because she had to wash back up. He said he put her right back after he had killed her. He put her in the water right there behind the Marriott. She had to wash back up with the waves and all. That didn't happen.
This is one really terrifying guy. I'm trying to get his picture back up here. This guy is just terrifying. I mean, if you
He's
imagine,
a big guy. He's six. I think he's 6'4". He's a big guy.
you know, when he met people like Natalee, you know, they just look at him and, you know, I guess initially he just seems like a regular person, but he's actually got this like rage that other people don't have. This like he doesn't have his right and wrong is skewed severely.
Yep.
He doesn't care about the
And the goodness is about the end of this case, he's not going to see the street again. He's got 20 years to serve in the federal penitentiary here in Alabama.
after he gets out of the Peru prison.
If he gets out of Peruvian prison, he got 28 years from 2010. So what is it in 2045?
28 years from 2010 would be 2038.
Is it 38?
Right.
Okay, he'll get out, and then he's got 20 years to do in the federal penitentiary. And going to federal penitentiary, there's no parole. So
That's
he'll
what I was
serve
about to
20 years. He'll get 20 years. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So I think it just seems like I've actually found a couple other cases where, you know, the killer only gets like 25 years or something. And it just seems, you know, he killed 2 people. He got caught killing one,
Yep.
but he admitted to the other one. It just doesn't seem like it's enough time. And I would rather him stay in a miserable Peruvian prison than come to one that's air conditioned.
Well, he's going to be in a real. But let me tell you something. He's in the Peruvian prison. He had a girlfriend come in. He got pregnant, got married in prison, had a baby. You're not going to do that in the federal penitentiary. He's going to be in a real surprise when he gets here. It's going to be a whole different ball of wax because it's no fun going to federal penitentiary in the U.S.
I feel like people in prison shouldn't have rights like that to be allowed to do that, even at
They
all.
do in Peru.
Even if
They
it's
do
on
in
paper.
Peru.
Well, the thing is, there's a case that I follow a lot on my channel with Chris Watts. He's supposedly got a fiance and he's going to get married in prison. You know, Ted Bundy, I think, got married in prison. Richard Ramirez got married in prison. It happens, and it just seems so odd to me that it's even allowed. You know, they're supposed to be punished and not be able to have something, even if it's on paper.
Right.
It just seems wrong to me.
So it'd be a long time before he gets an eligibility for parole, and he's not going to get paroled. I can tell you that right now.
So he was 17 in 2005. So it's 2025. He's 37 now. So he'll be like in his 50s when he gets out of the Peruvian prison. Is there any possibility that once he gets out, he can disappear before he's extradited back to the
No,
U.S.?
he won't leave prison. He'll get extradited from there to the federal penitentiary.
Man,
He
I
will
can
not
just
get out.
imagine him scheming already on how to like do that. He just seems like a really evil person.
Oh, he is. He's not. He won't see the street again. He won't see it. Not in our lifetime. So, but yeah, he needs to be where he's going. Okay. I mean, he's dangerous. He's dangerous. And but two people have lost their lives because of him, and we don't need to have a third.
So I kind of want to go back a little bit. I know we talked about the blonde hair already a little bit. There was a couple questions I wanted to ask. There was travel restrictions initially that was put on him that a judge later allowed him to leave the country. Do you think that was part of the conspiracy, the cover up, that he was even allowed to leave?
Well, I don't. He got out of the country without the FBI knowing it. He should have been arrested in 2010, and but he got away from the FBI. They should have taken him into custody when he got that money on film put in his hand. And the FBI said, no, let's sit back and let's watch him and see what he does. And they got away from him. So he snuck, he got out of there and went to Peru and got away from him. And ironically, the death of another girl. So who do we blame for that?
Do you think right. Do you think he's murdered other people?
No, he's a psychopath. He's a psychopath or sociopath, one of the two, or both. But he's got problems, and but he got away from law enforcement, and so luckily we got a confession out of him, and he's got jail time for Natalee. I mean, I think Beth is happy with it. But I can tell you right now, Dave wants his daughter back to have a proper burial. If she's not alive, he wants his daughter back. And so I'm still in the picture with him with that. And we got some things going on right now we're looking at, but it's not fair. It's not fair.
Really not. I can't even imagine what it would be like to not know for that long, like to wonder. You'd probably be like, well, what if I'm wrong? As you're thinking about these things, everything seems like it's this guy, but then he keep getting out of jail. What if I'm wrong? Those kinds of thoughts would probably come into my mind a lot, and it would just be torturous. Like, I don't know how thinking back now that everything that you know now, was there any like missed opportunities that maybe you could have caught him faster had you not
No, I mean, we were dealing with a lot. We were dealing with a lot of lies and a lot of people that didn't want to get involved. That was the problem. I don't know if things would be different, but luckily we made headway, years later, and he's finally come around and confessed. I mean, he knew we weren't going to stop. Maybe that's why he, honored the opportunity of coming to the U.S. and maybe telling the truth, because we weren't going to stop looking into what transpired.
Yeah. I watched the video last night of Beth, saying, yeah, we got a confession. I'm happy with that. And I bet that was really difficult for her to say, but I can imagine the relief of knowing is got to be better than the wondering, the not knowing.
Right.
So I feel like she was very composed when she said that, and she did seem a little bit relieved, talking about that.
Well, I
But
think Beth's satisfied right now, but I can tell you Dave's not satisfied.
right, if there was a cover up and there's a body, then all the people who helped, do that should be, held accountable.
Yep.
It
Will that
shouldn't be.
happen? I don't know. I mean, I know there's 2 police chiefs that got caught up into it and a prosecutor that's on the hook right now. So whether something will come out of that, it just remains to be seen. Deepak, Satish and Deepak, who with Vandersloot, Deepak's a lawyer now in Aruba.
Wow.
He's a lawyer.
Did he have any involvement in this at all? I mean, was he
One
a
of them, we
witness?
think one of them did, but the other one didn't. We don't know yet. We haven't proven that, but that remains to be seen. I think the most important thing at this point in time is that we can try to recover Natalee's remains if there is, or Natalee. I think that's more important than anything else right now.
So everything that you've learned from this case, how do you think it's going to affect your investigation with Sadiqa? I mean, are you going to be able to obviously you learned a lot investigating this for 20 years,
There's things that one of the advantages that I had with this case dealing with a local law enforcement that were involved down there, that I was able to obtain information, which is very helpful. Was very helpful, which is going to come out. And let me tell you this: the sad part about that case in Dominican Republic is that the Dominican Republic law enforcement knows the answers.
I've gotten at least a dozen comments on our last conversation on that case where people said the exact same thing. And, I just kind of shrugged it off as conspiracy theories.
Law enforcement knows about witnesses and they've closed the case.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put that into play.
DJ, is there anything else you wanted to talk about regarding this case?
Well, we got it. You know that Dave Holloway and I did a TV show in 2017, The Disappearance of Natalee Holloway. And speaking of which, I think I've shared this with you. We did a 6-week miniseries on the Oxygen Network, and what came out was John Ludwig. John Ludwig knew Joran Vandersloot and spent time with him. That's John Ludwig. And in this particular picture was part of the show, and John Ludwig told me that he had helped Vandersloot bury Natalee's body. He told me on film, and told me he was paid by Vandersloot to help move her body, and he admitted to it. And the sad part about this TV show that we did was Gabriel, who brought all this information to Dave Holloway, then it was given to me. Gabriel had a plan, and Gabriel's plan wasn't so much about finding Natalee Holloway as it much was to get him on TV. He wanted to be in TV. And before the show, the 6-week miniseries ended, him and I weren't even speaking. And I mean, we couldn't even get around each other because he was upset because I was getting all the attention with national TV about this show. And along with Dave.
I watched the series. It's really good. It's on Lifetime, right? Or Oxygen?
Oxygen. It's been, matter of fact, the last 3 weeks, it's been on the Oxygen Network on Sunday night. It may be on there tonight. It started at 6 o'clock and ended at midnight for the last 3 weeks.
It's really good. You can stream it too if you got the access to the network. It's really compelling.
6-week mini. It's a good show, but there's a lot of things in there that are not true. And
I was actually wondering if John possibly believed that he had helped recover those remains of Natalee, and maybe he was just misled and it was something else.
That was the story that made the story big. They had April 23rd, Dave Holloway called me in 2017. He said, "Are you sitting down?" And I said, yeah, why? He said, John and Gabriel in Aruba. I said, what? They're in Aruba. They were paid. Somebody gave them money to go to Aruba. They went down and planned to pull bones together and put the bones, they buried the bones behind, his aunt was a realtor. John's aunt was a realtor in Aruba. So they planted these bones behind John's aunt's house. And John claims that he planted those bones there in his help with Joran van der Sloot. They've been in the ground all that time. You could tell when they pulled them out, they had not been in the ground for that many years, that they had just put them in there. So, but that was their story. And ironically, as soon as they came up with this and we found out that they were in Aruba in April, I called law enforcement. And law enforcement set up a sting and set them up and got them and got the bones. Well, the bones that they took, they claimed the Aruba authorities took the bones from John and Gabriel. And I don't know why they didn't arrest them right then and there. They should have arrested them. If they had Natalee's bones, they should have took them into custody, and they didn't. So that's another fault of the Aruba authorities that went down in when this transpired. So anyway, the Aruba authorities took the bones and they said they were going to send them off and test them. Well, it was too short of a time from the time that Dave and I went back to Aruba for the 6th show that I spent with that we spent with law enforcement that was filmed. And I asked them about the bones. And I said, what kind of bones are they since you tested them? Oh, they were animal bones. And I said, what kind of animal? They couldn't name what kind of animal it was. Well, that told me right there that they did not test those bones. So I convinced them in my conversation in the sixth show, you'll see it if you see the show, that to give me the bones. So they gave me the bones and said, you're not going to be able to use them if they are bones. So we sent the bones off to Washington, D.C., and ironically, one of the bones came back was human. Gabriel must have put a human bone in those bones that they planted and dug up. There was a human bone. It was not Natalee's. So to this day, we don't know whose bone that is, but I will tell you, we only took half the bones and tested them. I have the other half still put away.
Yeah.
So
I read.
I don't know whose human bone it is, but there's a human bone that was in those bones that were recovered by John and Gabriel that were planted, but we know they planted them. We know that now. And those bones were in custody of the Aruba authorities and were supposed to have been tested. If they tested them, why didn't they learn they were human? So there was a human bone in there. That's how I know they didn't test them. And we immediately sent them when I took them from the Aruba authorities, I sent them to Washington, D.C. to be tested, and one of those bones came back human.
What about the other bones? They
were animal bones. They were animal bones. Yeah.
I think either it was on the show that I watched, the mini series that you're talking about, or I read it somewhere, but there was something about a crematory that they were getting bones from.
We think what John told me, John and Gabriel, right after the show aired in September, and in December of 2017, I got a phone call from John, and John was different. Gabriel was giving John drugs to gather all this information, and John would keep Gabriel would keep John drugged up to start getting information about his relationship with Joran van der Sloot. And then he was putting it out for the show. And but John called me in December. I was on the phone with him for 2.5 hours. I've recorded it. I got the recording put away. He was a different person. He had gone to a rehab, and him and Gabriel had a falling out. And he told me the real story about what was going on with Gabriel. He told me about the bones. I got it on film. And then shortly after that, John tried to kidnap his girlfriend and with a knife. And the reason he did, because the girlfriend got pregnant and he wanted copies of the abortion she had, and she wouldn't give it to him. and he tried to kidnap her to get it. And he had a knife. She got the knife from him and turned it on him and stabbed him twice.
Oh,
And he
wow.
died. And that was in February of 2018. So
Yeah,
that was part of the end of the story too. And I don't know whether I shared this with you. When Dave Holloway and I were about to go back and do the last show in 2017, we were supposed to go back to Aruba on June the 7th. On June the 3rd, I got woken up at 3:15 in the morning, and my youngest son overdosed on heroin. And I had to stop the show for 10 days. My son died. And I had to stop the show for 10 days to bury my son before I could go back to Aruba.
That's got to be very difficult.
I'm very well aware of what it feels like to lose your child. So that's why Dave has asked me to continue to help him try to find Natalee's remains if she's dead, which I've agreed to do.
I think you've done, like, masterfully finding out all of this information. It's unfortunate that it's taken so long to find it, but I don't think another investigator would have, kept working on it. You hear about people who just let cases go sometimes.
No, we haven't let this go, and I haven't let it go. And I guess, I've been doing this for 43 years, and I've worked a lot of high-profile cases. In fact, I have a book coming out that's going on right. I got a book I'm writing right now. Nancy Grace is doing the forward in my book, and I'm writing a book about 10 of my high-profile cases, which should be out in about probably 8 or 9 months. It should be done, and it's on my website. If you look at my website at tjwardpi.com, you'll see the book, and you'll see all the background about me. But I'm looking to maybe slow down just a little bit when my book comes out, then I can get on book tours and get my book out and be able to go out and talk about what I've done for 40 plus years.
Yeah. Were you able to find a publisher for that?
I haven't yet. I'm looking for a publisher right now. I mean, they're not standing on every corner like Starbucks, but you've got to find a good publisher to be able to do it and for it to be able to get out. And I will sell it reasonable. I want more people to learn about what I've done, me be able to talk about it and get out there and see what I've done and how it was my lifetime. I've been with the government since I was 17 years old, and now I got my own business. So I've been working and doing this for a very long time.
Yeah, I know you and I have been talking about the book, and I would love to help you write it. But finding the publisher is hard. I've talked to a few, and they're like, "Well, you have to pay us $2,000 to $10,000."
Well, publishers should be paying us.
Exactly. Well, I had a guy on the show the last weekend, Jim DeFilippi. He's published 40 books, and I talked to him about it, and he said that if they're asking you for money, don't do it. It's better.
They should be paying you for rights to the book, part of the book.
He's published 40 books, and he thinks it's better to self-publish than to try to pay somebody to do it, because it's cheaper, obviously, to market it yourself than to have somebody else do it.
Right.
But then at the same time, it's not probably going to get it's not going to get that national attention if you got the right publisher.
Right.
And he mentioned that an agent might be the way to go about getting, access to a real publisher.
Well, yep, that's where I am now. So I'm going to bring out some information about Sadisha's case probably later this week on the media.
I think I might have to go back and edit out that clip where we first talk about that and how to keep an eye on Fox News and make it a short and, so people could,
Nancy Grace is supposed to call me on Tuesday.
Wow. And, I'm going to be looking for that. I'm really curious. That Sadiq case was one of the first cases that really got to me.
Well, this is like the same place. This is like Natalee. Same thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I have a lot of feelings about that case, and, I don't even know her. It's hard to digest some of these stories sometimes.
Well, there's a lot of families concerned up in Virginia that Indian, they're from Indian culture, the family. There's a lot of people real concerned about this case. And I mean, they've called me, they've emailed me, they've on Instagram and Facebook, and they told me, so we'll pay you to go down there. And I said, I don't want to do that until I get the blessing from the family that wants me to go. And the family knows clearly who I am. Clearly.
Yeah. Well, TJ, it was great having you on. I love talking with you. It's really.
Well, we'll stay in touch, and we'll get some more stories for your audience. And I don't mind sharing. I'll be more than happy to, and sharing what I've done in my lifetime. And 'cause I want to get it out there. I've been blessed to be where I am and to learn what I've learned. And but I'll be more than happy to share it with you on your show.
One thing that I've been curious about personally, that's not really related to any specific case, but it's just like the process of investigating, like how does an experienced investigator, pick up clues that somebody who's not experienced finds? And I think we might be able to talk about that on a different show, not today.
Let me tell you something real quickly. When I get hired on a case, let me tell you one of the first things that I do. I investigate the person that hires me. I look into them. I want to know both sides of the story before I get started. You'd be surprised what I find about the person that's coming to me. And let me tell you why I did that. I've had people, and I have it in my contract now, I've had people that have protective orders against them that want to get to somebody that'll come and hire me to get to them. And one of these spots in my contract now is that you're not under any investigation for stalking or something. And I make them sign off on it because I don't want to get caught up going after somebody when they got a protective order against them. And if somebody gets hurt, then I could be liable.
Right. I think with DV protective orders, there's a clause in there that indirect contact is also contact. And if they're contacting you, that's
why I did. That's why it's in my contract. And I've been in this a long time, and I know the rules. As much as I know the law, I know the rules. What's got to be done, and so I'm very, I'm very careful what I do, but I'm good at what I do, getting involved. And if there's anybody out there that wants us to get involved to help them, I'll be more than happy to be there for you.
One last thing, TJ, I know one of my viewers, I'm not going to mention who it is, but they've actually just gone through a DV situation. And as a victim, in the initial, like, is there anything that they would need to do to like find evidence that they could give hand over to the prosecutor before it disappears? You got any advice on that?
Anything that's physical that needs to be turned over to law enforcement or to a prosecutor, they need to turn over. They don't need to try to, even if I get involved in the case with that and there's evidence there, I'm going to turn it over to law enforcement. I'm going to let them know that I'm working on it, and whatever I find is going to be part of their investigation. And I'll be more than happy to send have you seen my videos that I just put out?
I haven't. I was actually hoping you'd give me the links for that, so I could.
I'm going to send you all 3 videos after I get off the air with you, and you'll have all 3 of them. And you can you can use them and you can put them out for me if you'll do that. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right,
TJ. Thank you.
All right. Thank your audience. I've enjoyed speaking with you, and look forward to working with you again.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. If you're watching the live, make sure and go check out TJ's website. He's got a lot of things in the works. And if you've been following the Sadiq case also, there's going to be some new information on that coming out soon. So as always, stay kind, be vigilant, and always question the truth. I'll catch you in the next video.
You go to YouTube also. I got a YouTube channel. Go on YouTube and look me up, TJ Ward, Private Investigator. I got, I think, 40 videos on YouTube about when I was on TV.
Oh, I didn't know that. I can actually put that in my description.
I'm on YouTube. I got a YouTube channel.
All right.
All right.
Maybe I could be on your show.
Well,
yeah.
All right. Have a good evening
All right.
and a good
Good night,
holiday.
everyone.
All right.
Happy
Thank you.
Labor Day.